Yeah, and speaking of Justyn-Henry Malloy, you'll get this chance to see him in spring training, and that will be that'll be interesting how the Tigers will have him out there, whether it's going to be in the outfield or not. So that's if you see him in spring training getting some starts at third base, well, then they still value him in that. But honestly, gentlemen, I'm not really right now with Justyn-Henry Malloy. Might as well kick it off with that in terms of non-roster invites. I think you guys see him getting time in the outfield at all, or in the infield at all.
I don't think the infield is not third base. I think there's a small chance he might see some time at first base, although he's never done that in pro ball.
Are you saying in spring or in the regular season?
In spring.
Oh, in the spring. I mean, sure. Put him at third. I mean, you settle it once and for all. If he looks like hands of stone and can't move over there, then I mean, but I don't know. I just think that at some point they're going to have to pull the trigger and make him an outfielder, and have it happen. But I would bet he plays a little bit of infield. I mean, there's a lot of spring training ball to be played. If he plays 5, 10, 15, 20 innings at third base, nobody's hurt by it.
Well,
yeah, I mean, go ahead, so Chris.
Well, it's something that I know we mentioned last year, and I've talked about it before, that we can't, fielding percentage is not the great sign of how good of a defender you are, but it does, at a certain point, it does tell you something. And Nick Castellanos' worst fielding percentage at third base with the Tigers was .939, and Justyn-Henry Malloy's with Toledo last year was .897. Worse than Nick Maton's. I think Nick Maton was like .905 or something like that. So, yeah, basically Malloy is 1 out of every 10 balls hit to him at third base is going to be an error, which maybe he's worked really, really, really hard in the offseason and is going to improve that, but there's a long way to go before you're even acceptable at the big league level. Sure. I guess to your point, like, I don't think you give up on it necessarily, but I think if you believe in his offensive ability, then you just find a place to hide him, and that could be left field, right field, DH, whatever.
And Hinch, I mean, mentioned this in the podcast we mentioned this last week in the New York podcast, or the New York Post podcast. Hinch didn't mention him at all, and Harris hasn't really said anything about him since the season ended. I mean, the only thing that was strange to me was that they just put him at third by default the last month and a half at Toledo, where they could have put anybody else there. I mean, the Tigers were rotating. They had a couple guys they signed and came and gone. So there's, I mean, until the call up of Lipsius. I mean, Lipsius should get some consideration at third, but it's not even been mentioned either. So it's
he graded out really poorly in the big leagues last year. I think he was like -5 outs above average in his very limited time at third base, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Justyn-Henry Malloy also, I mean, I made this half a joke and it's half serious. He's another guy. He seems a future Oakland A. A guy with no position, can hit a little. He goes to Oakland. I don't know if there's anybody Detroit really wants from Oakland, but that would be a pretty good trade partner, probably.
Well, one of the or sort of the gist of Jerry's piece about Malloy, which was really good, and Raj mentioned it, was that there's not really, like, it's a worrisome amount of contact in the zone for Malloy. He's got a terrific eye and he takes lots of walks, but when pitchers get him in the zone, he can swing and miss a fair amount. And that's one of the things that, my little side research project about walks is you'll find these guys who can walk a ton in the minors, and you get to the majors, and once pitchers realize that they don't need, like, they'll start off by trying to get you to chase because that's more likely to get you out. And if you don't chase, then they'll come in the zone. And then if they realize they can get you out in the zone, they have no problem doing that. And so I don't know. I mean, there's a reason Malloy, he's kind of a fringe top 100 prospect. I think we saw him in Keith Law. He was just outside the top 100. I think he was on the, just missed on Baseball America, a couple other places. He's the defensive questions are an issue. And there's just, there's some offensive ability there, but there's still a little bit of a question mark if he can get to it.
To me, I rather, you have to see it at a consistent level, because one of the questions in here is, does he have the power to justify forcing the bats for his lack of defense?
I mean, it's above average power, right? Like, he's a 20-25 home run guy. It's he's not going to hit 40 or something like that, but there's enough power there to give him some at bats.
Yeah, I mean, you can't really just leave him down in Toledo forever either. It's not like he's a fringe prospect or anything. There's some legitimacy to it, but look, bottom line is this: I think if the Tigers will tell you without saying it what they think of him if he hasn't been mentioned in a conversation at all, or for that matter. What I do find interesting though is even as MSU Trey fan citizen here, I don't see him being at first base because of the Mark Canha to play DH or whenever Torque gets a day off. That's true, and we never saw him. Usually, you buy at the end of the year down in the either Toledo or the Double A. If they're going to put you in a different position, they'll start doing that at some point, and they never did. So they did. I mean, for the obviously he played the outfield a little bit, but not first base.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I think Lipsius played some first base, and I think Ibanez played some first base.
Yeah,
like a little. But yeah, there's I don't know. So I think they may work him in a little bit just because there aren't a ton of other options. But I don't know. Yeah, he's enough of a work in progress at third and the outfield that they might not want to put anything else on his plate right now.
Well, and he has one big thing that can happen, right? If the 28th ranked offense from last year starts this season looking like the 28th ranked offense again, and he gets off to a good start and is hitting, the bat will write his ticket. Mm-hmm. I'm convinced of that. I mean, whether he's a stumble bum in the outfield or not, and credit for me for using stumble bum because that was kind of funny. But anyway, he can hit his way to the majors. I think that's going to be his ticket, obviously, and he might just do it. I mean, if he gets off to last year, what was he hitting in April? Like 400 for a while, wasn't he? I mean, if he's doing that again and the Tigers are scuffling, what are they going to do?